Okay, my desk is full. I'm still working on the Victron system. Probably noticed I've tidied up a few things, a few little changes. However, what I want to talk about, if you operate a diesel vehicle in cold winters, or you're doing winter off-grid life, like an RV, van, truck, camper, or even everyday use, whether it be a truck or a car diesel. From my experiences, perhaps you may benefit from it. It all depends how new you are to a diesel vehicle. I use my Dodge Ram 2500 diesel truck for camping, ice fishing, and everyday use. It's 2016. I had a little bit over 8 years now, approaching 200,000 K, so no issues so far. When temperature drops to minus 30 degrees Celsius or higher, even when it's 20 degrees Celsius, the wind chill factor could bring it up to like minus 40 Celsius or Fahrenheit. Obviously, a truck bra or some sort of cover over the grill would help. It also increases the heat to warm your cab and reduces the chill factor on the engine compartments. Now, the second thing that I do is to change my oil for winter. I use 0W40 viscosity. I personally prefer the Shell Rotella T6 synthetic 0W40. Let me bring that up for you. Okay. I've been using that for almost 100,000 kilometers now. The first, or even less, the first 60,000 was under warranty. Whatever the dealer put in, which was the usual oil. I had a couple of bad experiences where for winter I think they put in either a 10W30 or even higher viscosity. And I had trouble that winter starting, and that's how I decided to look into it and discovered a few things that really proved to be a benefit for me. First thing I noticed that particular winter, my engine struggled to turn over. And that's because the oil was thick. The dealer did not put in a winter viscosity, which I found out later on. So that particular year, it was hard. I lived with it. Most of the time, I was able to plug in. And eventually, I decided to do my own oil change, no longer a warranty. And I decided on this Shell Rotella T6 synthetic oil. And I have been very happy with it. Even though it's very, very cold, minus 40, that engine just spins over. Not a problem. But that's still not enough. In cold weather, the diesel fuel will gel. The engine will start to sputter and quit. And if you keep it up long enough, you'll end up killing the battery, doing damage to your battery, shortening the lifespan of the battery. And this could still happen, which happened with me once. Even though I ran the grid heater drawing 200 amps or more to heat the air intake, it wouldn't start because no fuel was arriving due to the freeze and gel conditions. And later on, I discovered I had a lot of water in the fuel tank due to condensation, several liters. I noticed that after using the other product, which I'll talk about, I was able to add an extra gallon or two filling up, which tells me, well, where did that space come from? Water was gone. Just a side note, I have a video about this. Some have experienced grid heater failure. Bolt comes off, falls into number 6 engine, $30,000 damage. Some who caught it in time, they replaced the grid heater assembly. Usually we're a third party. The Banks unit, which is a proprietary design. So yeah, there's no other option. Or you just use the original. The cause is still in debate, discussion. Some have said the grid heater stayed on and doesn't shut off, eventually melts the boat. Some are using tuners that ignore the temperature to give more power. And who knows, perhaps it's the excessive soot buildup. For myself, I physically check for movement on the grid heater connection. If it wiggles, stop, don't use the truck, park it, replace the unit either with a factory or Banks option. So far for me, approaching 200,000 everything looks good. I do have a video on my site showing how to check, so if you're interested, take a look. Okay, third step. I started even right now, this is still late September, weather's not cold. I start to use the diesel winter anti-gel. If I have water in my tank, it will disperse it. I want that gone before real cold weather. The anti-gel has lubricants in it, so anti-rust inhibitors, things of that sort. So it's great for the fuel pump and even your injectors. So there's benefits to it. There are other products that will do the same thing, which I'll talk about later, and I've tested. So this using a diesel winter anti-gel, it disperses the moisture, which I certainly proved to myself just how much water I had and how a capacity to carry more fuel increased noticeably. And of course, that improves the cold start. It boosts power, increases cetane, prevents the gelling and icing. So it's a worthwhile cost and really not that expensive. From my experience, it really works. Yes, we still need to use the grid heater when it's cold, but it will start, maybe rough. Once the air temperature warms up and the grid heater shuts off and the engine runs smoothly. I have a monitor so I can see the air input temperature and the battery voltage. It's one of my tools I use to watch my grid heater. I don't want to get caught with the grid heater staying on and not shutting off. So that's my method. When the battery voltage normally is around 13.8 to 14 volts, and when the grid heater comes on, it will drop quickly to 11 volts DC, telling me that the heater is on. It should turn off within a few minutes or less. If not, then you may have a serious problem that could result in a meltdown of your grid heater motors, or maybe you have a faulty solenoid switch that's not switching off to the software command or firmware command, I should say. Of course, if you have offshore power, always best to plug in your block heater. It will save on the battery, save on the grid heater issue, less engine wear. Now, there's a lot of people off-grid living in a camper, truck, or RV. A generator is a great tool because you probably are not near any offshore power. Trees don't provide it, so a generator is handy. You want to keep your generator on a very cold day inside so that you'll have no problem starting up. And then plug in your block heater, start the generator. It may take a few hours, but it's worth it. As another side note, I've lived in cold weather even when you're with grid power, your propane heater could stop flowing. And this usually happens because the tank is exposed to the weather, to the elements outside. And I find that if you protect it from the outside elements with a cover or something of that sort, I was able to keep heating my RV even though it's minus 40 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit. I think on one occasion it was minus 45 according to the temperature. I do have a diesel heater, but it's not installed in my RV yet because I haven't had a need for winter or off-grid with my trailer. But if you are in a van or a truck and you're using a diesel heater, for example, to heat the water in your engine. Now, some have installed that, but when it hit around minus 20, whatever the chill factor is, it wouldn't work. The pump couldn't push the fuel into a chamber to fire it up. I never tried this, but whenever I saw this issue online, I was thinking to myself, why can't you not use a diesel anti-gel in the fuel? I do have a grid heater that I use all in one unit when I do ice fishing. It's outside the ice fishing tent, the Eskimo that I have. If I should ever experience anti-gelling, well, I always carry it with me in the truck. I will pour some in. If that ever happens, I will report and see how it works, but I don't see no issue. I can't think of any. If you do, let me know. So if you are using a diesel heater and your fuel is exposed to the outside, try some anti-gel. Now, the brand that I use is the Hot Secret Sauce. Well, if you were watching the video, you probably figured that out already. My supply happens to be in the truck, and I don't have a truck with me. So I decided I'll just show you the pictures, and this is the price one of those local online stores and the Canadian dollars. Be cheaper down US or different countries, I imagine. Okay, you probably, depending on your setup, you may have been able to read some of it. If not, you can go online. And it really does help. It prevents clogged fuel filters and fuel lines during cold winter months. It adds additives like a detergency, stability, lubricity, things of that sort, and of course boosted the fuel's cetane number. And it doesn't take much. 4 ounces would handle 31 gallons, or about roughly 117 liters, and my tank is 102 liters, so 4 ounces. And it'd be good to do this each time whenever you refill. Also, it's a good idea not to let your tank run down too low, because then you'll get increased possibility of condensation when it's really cold. So anytime it drops it below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, you can use it. And it's safe for all diesel engines, whether it be semi-trucks, pickup trucks, farm equipment, and automotive vehicles. Now, I believe you don't think it's for gas engines, this particular one, but they do have one gasoline, I think. Okay, this leads me to another additive that I definitely notice it worked. And it's called Diesel Extreme or Everyday Diesel Treatment. Again, by the same company as you'd be watching the video. This is excellent additive to use for your injectors. It does remove the varnish deposits that can cause scarring and wear. It helps you with your fuel pump too. Yeah, there is cetane improvers and stuff like that. But there was a claim made, which I was able to see if it's true. By improving the combustion of the diesel fuel treatment, it will reduce the number of diesel particulate filter regeneration cycles. Now, that's something I was able to test. During this particular time, we're talking about a few years back now, when I started this, probably in my third, fourth year of owning the truck. I had a pretty regular routine, so I knew how often I had a regen. So I pour this stuff in. They have two types. One that you pour in a container, and you do this every 6,000 miles, which is about 9,000 kilometers. Or they have one where you just put in every day, every time you fill up your truck. They call it the everyday diesel treatment. And that's the first thing I notice. The frequency of my DEF regeneration dropped considerably. It made a big difference. Yeah, there's a fuel economic improvement, horsepower improvement, stuff like that. And it also helps with cold starts, which is another reason why I decided to use that. Um, Eliminates excessive black smoke. It's something that's recommended for all diesel trucks. Again, 116 an ounce. Let me see it. Yeah, if you're doing the every 6,000 miles, then you probably need about 14 ounces. But with the everyday stuff, 1 ounce per tank fill up, which will give you about 94 liters, very close to 100, 102 that I have. So you have to decide which is convenient. I've done both. I initially did the extreme. I was impressed with how it worked, and then I've gone to the everyday diesel treatment after that, and I throw it in once in a while. And in fact, it's also good for furnace fuel oil. Gives you more trouble-free furnace operation. So it's definitely something I've been doing on a regular basis there for quite a few years. Okay, before I continue on with something that really surprised me, this is not sponsored. Everything that I use, I bought over the years and tested for myself, just sharing my experience. And so I would recommend that you verify the information that I mentioned here. There was one more product that I was very surprised. Initially, I thought, oh, and then I realized, wow, it's a product called Striction. Never knew about this. Again, this is going back maybe 2 years now that I started using this. I use, of course, synthetic oil. I did a fresh oil change, and I added almost a bottle of this stuff into the oil. So it's with the regular engine oil. And I drove around. Didn't really notice anything much. And then probably about 6 months in, I'm not sure how many mileage I put in. It was getting close to another oil change, I know that. And I was starting to get engine, not problems, but alerts, codes, stuff like that. Seemed to be all related to the turbo somehow. I was quite concerned. Okay, time for oil change anyways. Dump the oil, change the filter, put it in fresh. I believe I may have been 5W40 of the shell at that time. I don't think there was any zero variable. Anyways, but the engine light, still came on. I still gained codes. And I was thinking about the crankcase filter. There was something that was pointing me to the crankcase filter. I did replace it at the first time when I had about between 80 and 100,000 kilometers. I did it myself. It's about $40. I think the filter, 10 minutes to change it. I remember asking the dealer at that time how much they would charge, and they wanted $400. And I was saying $400, $40, 10-minute work, a little step ladder. I did it myself, and it was that easy. Okay, so I ordered another one online, 40 odd dollars. As long as you have the right tools, the two bolts way in the back, you need uh, an angle type of socket. I unplugged it, lifted the cover off, took the filter out, and the first thing I noticed how heavy it was. And the first time I changed it was so light. I looked at it, said, nothing wrong with this filter. I didn't really need to be changed at 80, 100,000 as recommended by Dodge. But it was heavy. It felt like a brick. So took it out, put in a new one. Put the cover back on. I started up the vehicle. I think I went on a trip. No more engine lights, no more codes. First thing I noticed, maybe a short period of time of driving, is wow, I noticed more power. I noticed there was no hesitation, especially when you're stopped and you give it the fuel. It acted really quick. So something that made me nervous initially started to say, oh, wow, this is good. But I was curious, so I contacted the people who make this, Hot Shop Secret, told them about it, and they replied by email and said, well, yeah, if you haven't done that on a regular basis, your filter is going to get clogged. And so he recommended that I do a maintenance every oil change. So initially, I almost used a whole bottle, which is about 4 ounces per quart of oil. I have 12 liters, so it's roughly 48 ounces. And for maintenance, 2 ounces. So it's half the amount. It really worked for me. What is this stuff supposed to do? It is an oil treatment for gasoline and diesel engines. It removes the sludge, the varnish that's created by the burnt oil, also lubricating the system to improve performance and reduce engine wear. They claim fuel economy. It says it restores power and performances, And they make this claim that it reduces engine wear up to 62% more than oil alone. They do recommend using it with synthetic oil instead of dyno oil. It safely removes and prevents the gumming, sticky residue that's built up inside the diesel injectors over time. It cleans and lubricates the entire oil side of the engine: injectors, turbos, rings, oil pumps, everything the oil touches. Now, this 62% more than improvement, better, protecting your engine more by 62% than just oil alone. They claim it's verified by third-party testing, and they give some sort of code if you want to look it up. So it's basically a synthetic cleaner, and again, a proprietary carbon nano lubricant. So you won't be able to find that in other brands. Keep that in mind. It cleans and lubricates the oil wet components inside your engine. Turbocharger. See, I was getting turbocharger issues, and that took away that cold. Rings, oil pump, pistons, injectors, and so forth. It claims that it will fix 9 out of 10 failing injectors. All I can say, I've done it once, and I've done one maintenance since then, though only 1 ounce, not 2 ounce. I think I didn't have enough or something. I was just curious. Anyways, I will put the 2 ounce on the next oil change. So decide for yourself. I have no issues with the experience I experienced, so much so that I'll be using it again. Okay, I'm just sharing my experience with this, and I've done it over a period of a few years, in some cases several years, and I have no indication that anything is wrong with my engine. So far, again, other things could happen. I basically do all my own maintenance as much as possible, as long as I have the equipment to do it or the environment to work in it. Hopefully, in the future, I don't have to replace my grid heater. It's something I can do myself. Take probably a day instead of 4 hours, and unfortunately, I would end up having to do it outside. So it all depends when this happens. If it happens in the middle of winter, I may be forced to have some garage to do it. But so far, everything's looking good. Hopefully, the information here is of help to those who have diesel vehicles and doing RVs, truck camping. It may prove to be beneficial for you if this is new to you, and it's going to be your first winter in a diesel environment, off-grid. I hope it helps you. Nothing worse than to have these problems. No heat, can't start your truck in the middle of nowhere, and you don't have a number to call other than a service station, which will cost a fortune. If it would be appreciated if thumbs up and subscribe. And depending on the amount of interest shown, I have some more little tips that I've gained over the years that has improved the performance and reliability of my vehicle. Have a nice day. Thank you again for subscribing and thumbs up.